This episode is brought to you by Dubby. Dubby gives you focus and energy without the crash and jitters. It has no sugar, fillers, or artificial dyes. Mix one packet or scoop into 8 or 12 ounces of water. Stir or shake well. Some powderiness is normal, and it has all the important vitamins. So this has vitamin C, B3, B6, and B12. And it's made from coffee fruit extract. So drink it and go conquer a task. And go to debbie.gg and use my promo code Angry Blerd 10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. That's debbie.gg with promo code Angry Blerd 10. Yo, it's your boy Bernard, aka the Scarlet Spatter, and welcome to another episode of the Angry Blerd podcast, where I'll be discussing everything nerdy that has caught my eye this past week. So, there's been a lot of movie news, which I'll try to get all of it done because Cinemacon was this past week, but I'm going to save that for later. Not necessarily one of my favorite actors, but I do watch a show that he's currently on, Jared Padalecki. He said that he is down to do a cameo in The Boys, but he would like to get in better shape before doing so, just in case he has to get naked. And, he also noted that he had some personal reservations about appearing in The Boys due to his boundary crossing content. So basically, because he's on Walker, and I don't know, if he was just doesn't want to do super mature stuff besides that remake of Friday the 13th a few years ago. Who was he talking to? He was talking about he was talking to Collider about possibly being on Supernatural. I mean, not Supernatural. He was on Supernatural about being on The Boys. And he said Eric Kripke has reached out to him multiple times. And he said, my response to him, 90% of the time is, dude, I'm 41 now with 3 kids. I'm not 25 and working out 3 hours a day. And I know you're going to make me get naked. So just give me a heads up. I'm in, but let me get a nutritionist and a trainer and get in the hyperbaric chamber for 8 months before you make me show up. But he would obviously be down to collaborate with Eric Kripke again because they worked on Supernatural for the longest. I think Kripke left after season 7. Not entirely sure. I would have to double check that because Supernatural was not the show for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm down to see Jared Padalecki on The Boys. He would have to be like some random character though, just like a one and done. Like maybe just do one episode. He doesn't need to stick around like Jensen Ackles did for all of season 3. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in this season, so who knows how long he's gonna be around. But yeah, I mean, shoot, why not? So this is the first bit of news that actually got out of I don't even think this was a part of Cinemacon actually. So Netflix did an anime on it last year, and now we're getting a live action version of it. So Warner Brothers will be producing a live action Yasuke samurai film. And for those of you who don't know who Yasuke is an African warrior who became the first black samurai. Not necessarily sure if Yasuke is a real person or not, but I don't know. Let's look this up real quick. Yes, apparently Yasuke was a actual person who was more than likely born in Mozambique and died sometime after June 1582. But yeah, so there's not much on this. It's just that Blitz Bazawule, don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's either one of those though, will be directing the project, and this is the same guy who directed the musical version of The Color Purple that came out in December. Hopefully it's a good movie, and hopefully the trailer's good. So Robert Downey Jr. was doing an interview with Esquire, and he said he would happily return to the MCU because he enjoys working with Kevin Feige, and at this point, Tony Stark does feel like a part of him. I mean, I would say so because at this point, he is Iron Man, and not just because he played the character for 10 years. It's because, more or less, Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. are two sides of the same coin. They both had their troubles with adult substances. But yeah, he said it's too integral a part of my DNA. He said that role chose me, and I always say never ever bet against Kevin Feige. It's a losing bet. He's the house, and he will always win. Due to the fact that Secret Wars, if it is very much like the 2015 version that Jonathan Hickman wrote, will kind of sort of do a soft reset of the Marvel Universe and possibly bring back characters who have died or just fell into the wayside, or are part of a different universe, and bring them over like they did Miles Morales. It is a possibility that Tony Stark can come back and he could be played by Robert Downey Jr. But it's also a possibility that they could just have a few flashbacks with Tony Stark and de-age him. Who knows? I got no problem with seeing Robert Downey Jr. again, but I feel like if he does come back for like more than a cameo, it will muddy the sacrifice that he made at the end of Endgame. But yeah, I mean, hey, what do I know? I don't work in movies. All right. So a movie that is going back to theaters for some reason, I don't think it's not the 20th anniversary of it, but The Dark Knight. I guess Jonathan Nolan was doing an interview. For those of you who don't know, Jonathan Nolan is Christopher Nolan's brother. He co-wrote the entire Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer. So he was saying that the Riddler was actually supposed to be the villain of The Dark Knight Rises instead of Bane. So he said Bane came out of a conversation with David Goyer and Chris. I was unsure about the story. I was unsure about that at the story stage, but sort of his backseat driving right you're looking at. I told Chris, I think Chris understood that he didn't want to go in with what Heath Ledger had done with the Joker, and you didn't want to go anywhere near that. So I started to play out ideas about the Riddler and what we could do with that character, but it did feel like it was close enough to the space of what we had done with Eve, and that you really need to sort of get into another gear shift. Honestly, if the Riddler would have been done right, I would have been all for it. But it's just at the point where, who knows? Because they basically turned the Riddler into a serial killer. They turned him into Jigsaw in the what's the crap called? The Batman. Have no idea why I couldn't remember that. But I don't know how. I mean, it's been what 16 years since The Dark Knight came out. Who cares? I don't know why you're talking about stuff that's over a decade old, Jonathan. That ship is come and gone. It's why one of my favorite shows. I can't wait to come back next week. Not next week, next month. Doctor Who. So there was some rumors going on that Millie Gibson's companion character Ruby Sunday would be gone after the first season, but they actually confirmed that Varada Sethu will be joining season 2, but she will be Ncuti Gatwa's second companion. So he will be rolling 2 companions deep. They actually posted a press release announcing her casting. It says that she's set to take a trip alongside. She's set to take a trip through space and time as the Doctor's new companion, alongside current companion Ruby Sunday in season 2 of Doctor Who. And season 2 is currently in production, which will come out in 2025. And the press release showed photos of Ncuti Gatwa, Millie Gibson, improvise at the table read. So, I mean, I'm just glad that, where Russell T Davies isn't doing what he did before, where, he just had to 86 companions and, keep switching them out. You can have more than one person in the TARDIS, but yeah, can't wait. May 10th, Disney Plus. Oh, and apparently we're getting 2 episodes on the premiere on Disney Plus. All right, so let's get into everything that came out of Cinemacon. So I'm gonna go over a lot of the stuff that I saw. Lionsgate decided to, I don't know what's up with everybody just saying, oh, hey guys, we're going to reboot old franchises. So Lionsgate is going to be bringing back the Blair Witch Project. Never really was a fan of that property. I mean, was there 2 of them? I feel like there was 2 of them. Let's look this up real quick. The Blair Witch Project. Oh, yeah. It's actually 3 of them. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and just Blair Witch, which came out in 2016. Didn't even hear about that one. But what else we got? Margot Robbie's working on a Monopoly movie.
Huh?
Some things just don't need to be turned into movies. Did we not learn that lesson from Rampage? We're getting a scary movie reboot as well. It's just like, I don't know if that's a situation where it's like, I can't remember the company that owns the rights to Scary Movie. But were they about to lose the property and have to give it back to the Wayans brothers because it's been XYZ amount of years since there was a Scary Movie? Let's see, when was the last Scary Movie release? Was it Scary Movie 5? Was there a 6? Here we go. Scary Movie film series. Yeah, so 11 years. Last one came out in 2013. So I don't know, Paramount. But I guess that makes sense because it was originally Miramax. All right, what else came out of Cinemacon? Aziz Ansari has a new movie coming out called Good Fortune, which he wrote, directed, and stars in. It's about an angel who attempts to do a good deed by showing a poor man that the life of a rich man isn't great, so he switches their lives. But apparently the angel is going to be played by Keanu Reeves, and Seth Rogen is going to be the rich man. So instead of, Aziz's character saying, you know what, you're right, he's like, nah, I'm going to keep being this rich guy. So we'll see how that goes. They showed some footage of Keanu in the ballerina film. So the thing I hate about CinemaCon is we don't get any of these teasers or footage unless someone records it and posts it to YouTube or Twitter. But by the time we usually get to see it, it gets deleted. There were 2 more scenes of Alien Romulus shown. Once again, I really wish we could see this stuff. There was some more footage of Furiosa shown. Don't really care about that movie. Mad Max is not a franchise I was ever a fan of. Smile 2 has some footage shown, and that will be coming out October 18th. Then watch the first one. I might watch that on Paramount Plus. They showed 13 minutes of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes footage, which, we'll get next month on the 10th. M. Night Shyamalan was at CinemaCon promoting his movie, Trap, but also supporting his daughter, who is directing a movie called The Watchers. We're getting a documentary on Christopher Reeve called Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Can't wait to see that because Christopher Reeve, as we all know, was in Superman. And, he passed away in the early 2000s. I guess it's a documentary on his life when he was cast as Superman and pretty much everything that happened after the accident. So they might have some footage of him on Smallville that wasn't actually shown on the 2 episodes. Was he on 2 episodes, or was it more than two? I think it was only two. But yeah, so they'll be showing that. The Folly Ado trailer came out for Joker 2. Don't care. Is they showed some footage at Beetlejuice. They showed the trailer and some more footage of Nosferatu. So that's the vampire movie that Robert Eggers is directing, who did The Lighthouse and the Witch. They showed some footage from The Fall Guy, which comes out next month, with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Showed some footage of Twisters, which I kind of want to see. Once again, really wish Cinemacon footage would come out. So here's a lot of the stuff that came out for Paramount. We will be getting a live action G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie, which we kind of already got hinted at the end of Transformers Rise of the Beast. The Running Man, which was a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that came out back in the 80s. Never saw it. I believe it's also based off of a book by Philip K. Dick, if I'm not mistaken. Let's double check this. Oh, Yaphet Kotto was in this, and Jesse Ventura. Stephen King. But he wrote it under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. A remake of that is coming, and it will be starring Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You, and Twisters fame. A bunch of new Avatar, The Last Airbender animated movies. There will be a Star Trek prequel movie. The Kendrick Lamar and Trey Parker and Matt Stone musical has a release window of sometime next year. They also showcase some footage from Transformers 1, which is the animated movie that has Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime, and Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. I don't believe Megatron had a name before his name was Megatron. So let's look this up real quick. Let's see. Oh, D16. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson's in there as Alita 1. Keegan-Michael Key is Bumblebee. John Hamm is Sentinel Prime. Lawrence Fishburne is Alpha Trion. And this will be coming out September 13th. Kevin Feige and Sean Levy showed some footage from Deadpool and Wolverine. And Kevin Feige dropped the F-bomb because he said he can finally do that since this is a rated R movie. He said it's fucking awesome. What else we got? Mickey 17, which is the Bong Joon-ho movie with Robert Pattinson that was supposed to be coming out this year but got pushed back to next year. They showed some footage and they said it looks incredibly weird, funny, and interesting. They showed like 30 minutes of footage of Inside Out 2. Oh, they showed the opening. They showed the first 35 minutes, which reestablishes the world that Riley is in, who is now 13 years old. And it showcased that Riley's new emotions like anxiety, depression, and a few others that I can't remember lock up her previous emotions from the first film. So joy, sadness, disgust. What was Bill Hader's character? Fear. But yeah, I can't wait to see that one in June. And they showed some footage of Gladiator 2. Still don't get why we're getting a Gladiator 2, but once again, I don't work in movies. They also said that Deadpool will be getting a popcorn bucket that will be created by Deadpool. So I don't know if that means Robin Williams. Not Robin Williams. Ryan Reynolds will be designing the bucket himself. But I don't know. They also showed some footage of Captain America Brave New World, where they showed Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford as Sam Wilson and Thunderbolt Ross. And It's up to Sam to form a new team of Avengers. And apparently Isaiah Bradley is in this movie. I'm reading stuff that's kind of spoiling the movie for me, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it for y'all. It's going to be awesome from what I just read. That was more or less a majority of the Cinemacon news that came out. So, the Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler vampire movie has got some more casting news. Since, I found out last week that Delroy Lindo was British, Haley Steinfeld will be joining the film. So, for those of you who don't know who Haley Steinfeld is for some odd reason, she played Kate Bishop on Hawkeye, had a cameo in the Marvels. She was in Bumblebee, and I believe she comes from like the Disney wheelhouse of childhood stars, if I'm not mistaken. She was also on Dickinson, Pitch Perfect, 2, True Grit with Jeff Bridges. She's also the voice of Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Verse movies. Forgot about that one for a second. Shame on me. Okay, apparently she was not a part of the Disney or whatchamacallit, Nickelodeon wheelhouse. So she just basically got it on her own. She will be joining that film alongside Wunmi Masoka, who we know as Agent. What was her name? What was her agent name in Loki? B-52. Let's look this up real quick. But a lot of people know her from Lovecraft Country. But Loki B-15, that's what it was. She was also in the Joan is Awful episode of Black Mirror, but that was the one with Selma Hayek and what was the old girl's name who was actually the lead who played Joan? Annie Murphy, that's who it was. But yeah, she'll be joining the movie as well. Still don't have much on this movie. We just know it takes place in the Jim Crow era, and it deals with vampires. So we'll get some more of that when we get some more of that. So a movie that I'm not necessarily looking forward to has been delayed until August, and that is the Crow reboot. And they showed some footage of that at CinemaCon, but for some reason there have been complications with the movie, and it is now going to be released on August 23rd as opposed to its June 7th date. So I don't know if that means that there was really some complications, because there was another movie that's supposed to be coming out that day, and that's Bad Boys Ride or Die. So I don't know if they didn't want to compete with that or what. They were just like, we'll just push it back about a month and a half. Well, we don't want to go toe to toe with Will Smith. But like I said, a lot of people who are fans of the original series, not original series, the original film, are really not looking forward to this movie. But hey, all you can do is all you can do. All right. So a TV show that was good up until the first writer strike of not the first, but of the first of the modern era of what was that, 2008? That was good up until that time. Heroes is getting a second revival series, and this one will be called Heroes Eclipsed. And Tim Kring, who is the creator of the original show, Eclipse, will be returning for this one as well. So according to deadlines, this series will follow a new batch of heroes being awakened and discovering powers that will change our lives, featuring familiar villains and new enemies who once again will attempt to suppress the next step in a human evolution. It will be up to this new group of heroes to save the world, and Tim Kring is writing the series. So I've been meaning to rewatch Heroes. I think I have the original series on DVD and storage, but that show ran from 2006 to 2010, and it introduced the world to a lot of people like Hayden Panettiere. A few people might have known Milo Ventimiglia from Gilmore Girls. Didn't watch it, so Masioka, Greg Grunberg, Zachary Quinto, and Christian Bale. So it follows, a group of evolved humans who will eventually Evos in the Heroes Reborn series who become aware that they have special abilities after an eclipse while a mysterious organization known as the Company seeks to wipe them out. Heroes Reborn came back in 2015, and that was a limited series. That was only one season. No casting news has been given on that yet. Don't know if I'm going to watch it because I didn't watch Heroes Reborn. I started to watch like the first episode and then I never finished it. I just remember Claire dying, like giving birth to her kid or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll go and watch it on Peacock. All right. We got some Invincible news. Voice work is pretty much already complete. So that means the scripts were done a while ago. Now it's up to the animation team to get their ish together. So they posted this on their Instagram page a few days ago. Because I want to say it was when did Invincible drop? On Thursdays? Yeah, they said no new episode this week, but here is an update on season 3. So they said the wait won't be as long. So hopefully that is true. Because I don't want to wait almost 2 years and then have to wait another 3.5 months. So yeah, they said Invincible return for season 3 should be sooner than season 2. Voice acting is already complete. We are deep in season 3. The co-runner will indeed be Simon Raposia, and Battle Beast and Titan are returning, and Invincible will be in it. So glad they decided to tell us that. All right, so I think I'm going to get into my review of Monkey Man before I talk about this episode of X-Men. All right, so this is your Blerd breakdown for Monkey Man, directed by Dev Patel, written by Dev Patel and Paul Anagonili. I'm pretty sure I butchered that last name. And John Howley. So Kid is a revenge-filled backdoor brawler known as Monkey Man, who is in the midst of a bloody revenge mission. As a child, he witnessed a corrupt police officer, Rana Singh, and a religious leader, Baba Shakti, burn down his village and kill his mother so they could steal the land. Kid infiltrates the hotel, which is the hub of Rana and Shakti's illicit imports, laying the groundwork to take out their operation. Inevitably, his initial hit goes wrong, and Kid is labeled a terrorist and falls into a river where he is on the verge of death. And Kid is nursed back to health by Alpha, who is the leader of a group of trans women and other marginalized people cast aside by the oppressive government. Alpha inspires Kid to fight for something more than just his pain. And Kid inspires the outcast group to fight back against Shakti's reign. And the film culminates with Kid killing Rana and taking out Shakti's operation before he succumbs to his own mortal wounds. And Dev Patel did his damn thing with this movie. So this movie was originally supposed to come out on Netflix, and Jordan Peele decided to buy this movie and place it under his Monkey Paw Productions because he said this film deserves to be in theaters. Dev Patel also gave Jordan Peele an executive producer credit, and I honestly feel like some things were cut out the movie by Jordan Peele, maybe just because of time restraints and everything, but Dev Patel put his blood, sweat, tears, heart, soul, all of his body into this movie. He actually broke a few fingers and a couple other bones, as he said in the press run for this movie. I have nothing negative to say about this movie at all whatsoever. But man, this movie was awesome. Like I said, the time constraints and whatever they cut out, I would like to see like a director's cut of this movie, because there is a part towards the end of the movie where, you know, Dev is doing his training and everything, and he gets ready to go and enact his revenge on Ramasang and Shakti. He takes his Monkey Man mask, he bleaches it white. So you think he's gonna go put on the mask and exact his revenge? He never puts on the mask. So I want to know where the cut is of him with the mask on. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about this movie besides, like, I feel like they cut it in some places where it didn't need to be cut. But basically after that, just because of the cuts, I'm gonna have to give this a 8. All right, I think it's time for me to talk about X-Men 97. All right, episode 5 of X-Men 97. remember it. I believe this episode was also written by Bo DeMayo. Let's double check that real quick. Yeah, written by Bo DeMayo, directed by Emi Yanimura. So, what can be said about this episode that hasn't already been said about everything? I mean, if y'all checked social media when this episode dropped, because
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
I was like, yeah. Okay, so Cyclops and Jean have grown distant due to, the whole Madeline Pryor and having a kid, and him not knowing that wasn't her. But can you blame them? They were pretty much the same down to the base genetic code. Madeline's was just fresher. And Magneto, Gambit, and Rogue are going to Genosha to see how things have gotten. Since, they are now part of the UN. Jean has started to develop feelings for Wolverine to the point where he said, hey, yo, this ain't how the story goes, okay? You, Jean Grey, he's Scott Summers. We know how this go, okay? So I'm backing away after fiending for this woman for years. And the local news is also interviewing the X-Men. So they're at the X-Mansion, and basically Cyclops said, you know what, man? I'm tired of defending y'all humans, okay? Y'all crap on us all the time. We get no respect. This racist behind doctor didn't want to deliver my kid. I'm over it. Magneto was right. But meanwhile, on Genosha, we get reconnected with Nightcrawler. We get a lot of cameos from a bunch of mutants in this episode. So Banshee is there. Marrow is there. Callisto. Pixie. Glob Herman. I don't remember who those other two kids were. But so the mutant nation of Genosha wants Magneto to lead, and he said, yeah, I'll lead, but I need to have an X-Men by my side. And he chooses Rogue. And Rogue is like, you knew what you was doing when you made that executive decision. This don't mean we gonna get back together. Okay? That ain't happening ever. She basically pulled a Taylor Swift and said, we're never, ever getting back together. And after that, she told Gambit, the whole rundown of her and Magneto's sordid love affair. And she said, Gambit said, you know what, you can go be with him. I'm gonna be your friend, but for now. And he was like, look, I figured you would be able to us not being able to touch things because some things are deeper than skin. And that's the name of the episode, by the way. And bro, it took Rogue dancing with Magneto to an Ace of Base song to realize that, you know what, Remy is right. Some things are deeper than skin. And Jean and Scott have just been going through the ringer like, bro. Jean got pissed because Scott was still communicating with Madeline via psychic rapport. And she was like, nah, man, that was our thing. How you gonna do that with my clone, bro? How dare you? But she didn't tell him that, she kissed Wolverine. It's just like at this point, y'all just need to get a divorce, and Scott need to go be with Madeline on Genosha. But Cable comes back from the future, tells him to cut the music off, and his AI in his arm warns him of imminent danger and teleports him away. And he says, I'm sorry. And boom, the Omega Sentinel shows up and just starts murking everybody. So CBR.com decided to put a list together of people who died in this attack. Madeline Pryor gets blown off. Banshee and Marrow get incinerated. Sebastian Shaw apparently died off screen. Who was also there. Callisto died as well. Moira McTaggart dies off screen in a barrage of the explosions. Squid Boy and Magneto proved that he was the OP, the OG in him in this episode because he went toe to toe with an Omega Sentinel, but unfortunately, him and the Morlocks he saved in episode 2 did not make it out alive. And Rogue, being grief-stricken with Magneto dying in front of her eyes, decided to try to go toe-to-toe with this thing, and Gambit stopped her. But in the process of doing so, Gambit decided to play the ultimate trump card and sacrifice himself to destroy the Omega Sentinel. And bro, like when I watched this episode the first time around, because I've watched it already like 6 times, I was just like, wait, what just happened? And why did Bo DeMayo do this to like the X-Men? I know this is just happened in the comics, but I'm just like, bro. So he decided to come out of retirement per se, because he has not talked about this show at all. So he said a lot of questions, so I'll momentarily break silence to answer. Episode 5 was the centerpiece of my pitch to Marvel in November of 2020. The idea of having the X-Men mirror the journey that any of us who grew up on the original show have experienced since being kids in the 90s. The world was seemingly a safer place for us, with a character like Storm would comment how skin-based racism was quaint in One Man's Worth, which was the season 4 opener of the X-Men animated series. Yep, go watch that episode. For the most part, to our young minds, the world was a simple place of right and wrong, where questions about identity and social justice had relatively clear-cut answers. And he said that, things aren't safe anymore. Grassroots populist movements began to arise around the world as a whole nation struggled to deal with the collective trauma and fracture at the seams of every diverse demographic. The effects that we still feel today and have only been exacerbated by more collective traumas like COVID-19 or several recessions. He also said that he wanted the episode, which ends with the heron attack on Genosha and kills Gambit and Magneto, to reflect the pain of real life attacks in safe spaces. So yeah, he said it looked like Gambit's story was going to go in a specific direction. The crop top was chosen to make you love him. Him pulling off his shirt in the episode where they went to go play basketball at the end of episode 1 was intentional, and he said there's a reason he told Gambit any fool would suffer her hands in a dance, even if it ended up not being him suffering. But if events like 9/11, Tulsa, Charlottesville, or Post nightclub teach us anything, it's that too many stories often cut far too short. I partied at Pulse, it was my club. So for those of you who didn't know, he's gay. I have so many great memories of his awesome white lounge. It was like Genosha, a safe space for me and everyone like me to dance and laugh and be free. I thought about this a lot when crafting this season and this episode, and how the gay community in Orlando rose the hill from that event. Like many of us who grew up on the OG cartoon, the X-Men have now been hit hard by the realities of an adult and unsafe world. Life's happened to them, and they, like we did, will have to decide which parts of themselves they will cling to and which parts they'll let go of in order to do what they've been telling humanity to do, face an uncertain future they never saw coming. As Trask told Cyclops in the premiere, you have no idea what it's like to be left behind by the future. Now the X-Men do, and like each of us, they'll have to weigh whether this is a time for social justice or as Magneto preached at his trial, is it a time for social healing? So, I mean, bars. I see nothing wrong with what he said. And he pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, think about it. We didn't really have to deal with much when we were like super, super young. It was like the bombing attempt on the World Trade Center. OJ, it's like we didn't have a pandemic or recession, none of that. Like, but as soon as we hit like 15 or 16, 9/11 happened, and like we've just been going to hell ever since. And like he said, now is this animated version of the X-Men's turn to go through the ringer and see how they make it out of this. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any more to say. This is your boy Bernard, aka the Scarlet Spider, and that was another episode of the Angry Blerd podcast. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and next week I'll be reviewing episode 6 of X-Men 97, and we'll see how they deal with the fallout of, this episode. I'll see y'all next week, and just remember, some things are deeper than skin.